Hi everyone, it's Sandy, and to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I am so excited to be collabing with my parabatai Trin, as we do every year, to share some of our favorite Asian book recommendations. Before we jump into the recommendations, I wanted to take a moment to address the anti-Asian hate that has been going on. Since the beginning of the pandemic, anti-Asian racism and violent attacks has increased significantly. It breaks my heart to see this happening in my community, and I hope to spread awareness about it by providing resources in the description box below where you can educate yourself and also provide places where you can donate if you are able to. Despite the pain that the Asian community has experienced, I will always be proud to be Asian American, and I'm so excited to be sharing some of my favorite Own Voices Asian books. Like I mentioned earlier, Trinh and I collab every year in May to recommend Asian books. I will have Trin's full recommendation video below where you will also see a bonus recommendation from me, so I'm going to let Trin start off this video with one of her recommendations.
Hi guys, my name is Trin and my booktube channel is trinhsformerz. Today I am here to recommend the Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. I want to say that the author Adiba Jaigirdar, she's actually Bangladeshi and Irish. I believe the main character and her family, they're Bangladeshi and Irish as well. There are some trigger warnings for this book: racism, cultural appropriation, homophobia, bullying, and a character being outed. This novel follows our main character named Nishat, who is a young Muslim teen girl. In the beginning of this book, she comes out to her parents that she is a lesbian. They don't take it well because in the synopsis, it literally says because Muslims aren't lesbians. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It says because Muslim girls aren't lesbians. I apologize for that. But basically this book is about a main character dealing with her sexuality and a crush on this girl named Flavia. However, things get complicated because at school there is this business class. There is a competition that whoever comes up with a profitable business, they will win tons of money. So our main character decides to do a henna business. Unfortunately, the love interest Flavia, she decides to do a henna business as well, and of course that is cultural appropriation. I read this book last year and I love it so much. It's actually one of my favorite books of 2020. I adore the main character. I will say I feel bad for her because she gets mistreated quite a lot in this book. However, I love the fact that she has grown throughout this entire book, and also her sister is actually one of my favorite characters. I love the sister so much. Even though it's very complicated, I cannot help but ship our main character with the love interest. So of course, if you really want to read a cute, queer, YA romance novel, then I highly recommend The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar.
The first book that I'm going to be recommending is I'll Be the One by Lyla Lee. This book follows a Korean-American fat main character named Sky. One day there is this K-pop competition that comes to town and she decides to audition for the singing and dancing component of it. She nails both of her auditions, and so she has the opportunity to become the next K-pop star. I do want to give a trigger warning for fat phobia in this book. There's drama, there's romance, and there's friendships, and overall I really love this book. I really love Sky as a main character. I feel like she's very confident and it's really empowering to read from her point of view. The story is about self-love and acceptance, and Sky is also bisexual, so I really love that we have that representation. And with being in a K-pop competition, there are certain beauty standards that are idolized. We see the challenges and the fat phobia that Sky experiences throughout this competition, but I thought it was really empowering to see Sky not give a shit. Obviously it does hurt, but she truly loves her body and she loves herself, and it was just so great to see. I also really love the romance in here. It's super cute. It's between Sky and one of her competitors, so that was obviously super fun to read. And I also really love the friendships that Sky has developed within the competition. Yes, there are certain people in the competition that don't like her and are there to kind of create drama, but Sky genuinely creates friendships with a few other people that are in the competition, and I just really love seeing that. Overall, Sky is a wonderful main character, and this is a wonderful story that I would highly recommend. My next recommendation is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920s Shanghai. As for trigger warnings, there are violence and gore, and there are pretty explicit descriptions of people gouging themselves. There's also murder and parental abuse. The story centers around two characters, Roma and Juliet, who are a part of rival gangs. So what I really like is that they used to have a relationship with one another, but then something happens and Juliet ends up moving to America for a little bit, but now she's back in Shanghai. So obviously their relationship dynamic has drastically changed, and they basically have to form an alliance with one another after they're seeing this spread of a disease that's causing people to gouge themselves, and it's causing death to members of both of their gangs. I feel like this story is very fast-paced and immersive. I really love the way the author describes the setting. It just feels very atmospheric, and I felt like I was in Shanghai even though I've never been there. I also really love the angst between the two main characters, Roma and Juliet. I love that they have this history together, and seeing them have to kind of put that history aside to work together, I just really love that overall dynamic. I'm not sure how many books will be in this series, but I know that there is a sequel coming out, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. My next recommendation is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This is a Japanese Japanese-inspired fantasy, and it has been on my TBR for a long time, and I'm so glad that I finally got to it this year because I really enjoyed it. The first character we have is Yumiko, and she is a half kitsune and half human. She was raised by monks, and one day her temple is attacked by demons who are trying to obtain this ancient scroll. Yumiko is able to escape, but she's also tasked to protect the scroll and to bring it to another temple. If the scroll falls in the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous. And the second main character that we follow is a demon slayer who is actually on a mission to find the scroll. So during this temple attack, he actually encounters Yumiko. Immediately, Yumiko knows his true intent of getting the scroll, but she also knows that she cannot travel to this temple on her own. So she is able to deceive him into helping her travel safely to this temple, and he's under the impression that she will basically lead him to the scroll. But little does he know, she's the one that actually has it. For trigger warnings, there is violence and murder, the loss of a loved one, physical abuse, threat of rape, talk of suicide, and themes on war. If you're looking for something that's action-packed and involving mythology, then this book is honestly for you. With this book, I felt like there was constantly something going on. There was constantly one obstacle after another, and it was honestly so engaging to read. I love reading about the Japanese folklore and mythology that's interwoven throughout the story, and seeing them travel to these different places. There is a very, very slow-burning romance between the two of them that I am sensing. Nothing really happens between two of them, but when we're in their point of views, you can see that they kind of are having feelings for the other person, and I just love that, and I'm so excited to continue on with the sequel and see that further develop. Everything about this book is just so good, from the characters to the plot to the world building. It was all so great. My next recommendation is a new favorite of mine, and that is Counting Down With You by Tashie Bhuiyan. For trigger warnings, there are anxiety attacks that the main character experiences throughout the book, and then there's verbal and psychological parental abuse. This is a YA contemporary following Karina, who is a Bangladeshi main character. At the start of the book, Karina's parents are traveling to Bangladesh for about a month, and she's basically left at home with her brother, and her grandma will be supervising the both of them. Karina is a very smart student with a passion for English, but her parents want her to pursue medicine and become a doctor. Her English teacher asks her if she's willing to tutor the student named Ace Clyde one-on-one, and the student happens to be this bad boy of the school. She agrees to tutor Ace, and they eventually end up in this fake dating scenario. So if you're interested in the fake dating trope, this book is honestly amazing. I truly love this relationship that we have between Ace and Karina. Their banter, their chemistry, everything about them, even when they're fake dating, was just done so well. I was rooting for them to get together from the very beginning. Ace is truly boyfriend material. He would remember all these little details about her, and it would come up later on in the book, and he was very respectful of her boundaries. I just really love Ace, and I love Karina, and I love their relationship even when they were fake dating. It was just so darn cute. I also really love the relationship that Karina had with her two best friends. Her whole friend group can be chaotic, but also super heartwarming and supportive. I really enjoyed their presence in the story, and I really love the group chat that they had going on. I also really love Karina's grandmother. It was just such a wholesome relationship, and we also see a sibling relationship that Karina had with her brother, and I really loved reading about that as well. Obviously, her relationship with her parents is difficult and complex, and it was truly hard to read at times, seeing how Karina isn't happy with what her parents want her to do, and she clearly has this passion for English, and that's what she wants to pursue, but she also doesn't want to disappoint her parents. I really felt for her reading about this dilemma that she's experiencing, and also the representation of anxiety. I adore this book so much. You all definitely need to pick this book up. And my last recommendation is Parachutes by Kelly Yang. I do want to give trigger warnings for rape and sexual assault, as well as racism and microaggressions. This story follows two teenage girls. First, we have Claire, who is from Shanghai. Claire comes from this very wealthy and privileged family, and her parents basically inform her that they're going to transfer her to this school in America, where she will be living with this host family. And so the second teenage girl that we follow is the daughter within the host family that Claire is living with, and her name is Danny. Danny is Filipina, lives with her single mom, and she's not super excited about having Claire move in, but she knows that having Claire live with them will provide them with additional financial support. This story explores so many different topics, and I think it does an excellent job doing so, from immigration, social class, rape culture. I also really love that Claire and Danny are not perfect characters. They have flaws, they make mistakes, there are certain things that they do sometimes that really irked me, but I really love how authentic they felt. This is a heavy story, and there are certain things that happen in this book that was just so infuriating to read about. Overall, I think it's a really important to read. Trin is actually recommending this book in her video as well, so the fact that both of us are including this book in our Asian Book Recs video, I think is a sign that you all should pick it up. But like I mentioned, it's a heavy story, so definitely be aware of the trigger warnings before going into this book. So those are all of my recommendations for this year. Don't forget to check out Trin's video for some more. I'd love to know some of your favorite Asian books in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!